What up? What up? All right. So for the last hour, I've been trying to get my wireless speaker to my laptop working. Um, Trying to get Nimbus working. What a dumb name of a program, Nimbus. You're such a Nimbus. It's just so dumb, Nimbus. But it's a great program. Other than the fact that for the last hour, I've been trying to get it to work so that I can upload this video. And have been putting off packing for New Orleans in the meantime. So we're going to make this one a quick one, which I can pretty much guarantee will mean it'll be close to 20 minutes. Hopefully not. Because as you're listening to this, I am in New Orleans, hopefully, if my plane doesn't get delayed tomorrow, which, as you're listening to it now, is a day after, so it's not tomorrow. I hope my plane didn't get delayed yesterday. I don't know what time it is because I don't. Okay, let's get down to business. Controlling the bureaucracy. So again, we talk about the importance of these bureaucratic agencies. They are vitally important because they carry out every piece of particular legislation or public policy that Congress passes, which goes obviously to the executive branch to enforce or execute. And so they have a tremendous amount of power. Who's this? Oh, what up, Jane? What up? I think that's the first time I've done a screencast and someone's popped up here. So it's good to see that Jane is looking to control the bureaucracy with me. So the influences on the bureaucracy. The president obviously has a tremendous amount of power initially with the ability to appoint top-level bureaucrats, i.e. the secretaries of each department. So he can get individuals that will have some degree of loyalty to him. But as you remember from the... She's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. But once they're appointed, they tend to, again, have a lot of loyalty to their particular department because obviously you have tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of workers in your department that you want to keep happy. Otherwise, you're not going to look like you're a very competent or a very good leader of a particular department. The president does have the ability to fire the secretaries, although that rarely happens, as previously mentioned, because it's not going to make him look good like he picked leaders who are not very good leaders. So typically that doesn't occur. Typically they step down when they want to step down, but you do have situations where, for example, Department of Health and Human Services, where the rollout of the website for Obamacare was a complete disaster. So one could easily speculate that President Obama asked the Secretary of Health and Human Services to step down, and the Secretary, Kathleen Sebelius, did step down and resigned. You can propose a department. Homeland Security was not a department that even existed prior to 9/11. And so after 9/11, we realized that we needed some kind of governmental entity or body that would really focus on securing our homeland. I think Donald Trump would be a boss in this role. But, that's if he doesn't become president. Obviously, the president has a little bit of power over the budgets of those departments, as the Office of Management and Budget falls in his executive office. So you can guarantee that the individuals that head that department are going to have some loyalty to the president. So you do have the element of the president requesting a decrease or an increase in the budget for a department. Checks on presidential influences. Again, the Senate plays a crucial role in the beginning in confirming or approving any of these top personnel in the departments, mostly the secretaries, in some cases the subsecretaries or the assistant secretaries. The vast majority of bureaucrats are government workers, just so we're aware of that. How in the world that indentation work properly. For the first time ever, I've been struggling. And all of a sudden, all I do is enter a word and it properly indents. Unbelievable. But most government workers, 99.9% of them, get their jobs based on merit, meaning qualifications. So they cannot be removed. They take what is called the civil service test or exam, and they get their jobs based on experience and qualifications. So the president cannot just fire workers in all of these departments, although he can certainly remove the leaders or secretaries of each department. Again, the budgets must be approved by Congress. So even if the president advocates for a crucial slash in budget because he doesn't like a department, it's up to Congress to approve whatever that department's budget is. So Congress plays a big role. Congressional influences are essential in regards to the bureaucracy. Again, of course, appropriations. We'll try to keep this and modify these notes. Money. Appropriations for each department is determined by Congress. So obviously, departments cannot just completely diss Congress. They must, kind of be friendly towards them. Otherwise, they're going to have their money slashed. Standing committees have oversight, which again, we've looked at examples of this, is when you call the heads of these agencies to appear in front of committee to answer questions in regards to problems that have occurred, investigations, hearings. Clearly, the investigation with the situation in Benghazi with Secretary of State or ex-Secretary of State Clinton was a kind of an indictment of the Department of State. And so when you talk about these committees, you probably don't want to, if you are a leader of a particular department, have to constantly be appearing in front of committee in regards to problems and things that have gone wrong. Congress also has the ability to reorganize bureaucratic agencies or eliminate them altogether. We have some Republican candidates for president that want to eliminate some of these bureaucratic agencies. One of the big ones that is often targeted by Republicans is the Department of Education, and the idea that educational standards should be set by the states and not the federal government. So you can reorganize or eliminate a particular agency. Again, the appointment or confirmation process with the Senate allows them to have some say in the direction of these departments. Limits on congressional influences. Again, one of the problems is, you talk about, for example, the Department of Agriculture. If you're a member of Congress from Iowa or from another agrarian state, you don't want to make drastic cuts to the Department of Agriculture because all of the initiatives and all of the programs that they're going to carry out probably benefit your state. So there is a little bit of play in that regard. If you are talking about the Department of Defense and you are a member of Congress who has a military base, or as most members of Congress have, a high number of veterans or military members from their states and their constituencies, you're not going to probably advocate for a slash of the budget of the Department of Defense or the Department of Veteran Affairs. So you have that element in play where, a lot of these departments benefit and have direct benefits to particular districts for members of Congress and states for members of the Senate. So you do have that in play as well. Again, Congress passes very broadly worded pieces of legislation. They are not policy experts, so they give these bureaucratic agencies vast powers to kind of fill in the blanks or, become more specific in regards to how a particular piece of legislation or public policy is carried out. That is very, very common. Interest groups lobby bureaucratic agencies heavily. So when we talked about that very short video, when they referred to whether or not the Department of Agriculture and one of the agencies in the Department of Agriculture is a school lunch program, determines whether or not pizza is considered a vegetable. So if you are for example, a tomato producer, or you're an interest group representing farmers who produce or grow tomatoes, you're going to lobby very heavily for pizza to be considered a vegetable, because not many of us are going to grab a tomato and eat it at the lunch table. But we may have a little pizza. So they have a vested interest. So interest groups lobby very, 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 very heavily. Long ago, we watched a video, excuse me, in regards to Congress passing a law that said we must list the country of origin for vegetables. So vegetables that were sold in supermarkets never used to say where they were from. And now if you go to Mariano's or you go to Jewel, you'll see that the vegetables say product of the USA, product of Canada, product of Mexico. Most grocers didn't want to have to do that because they wanted to get the vegetables from the cheapest source without revealing where it was coming from. So they lobbied very heavily for the Department of Agriculture to delay the implementation of that piece of legislation. And they were very successful. It was like 4 or 5 years before grocers had to actually clearly label country of origin. So you do have interest groups play a big role, not only on Congress in the writing of laws, but the bureaucratic agencies and the bureaucracy carrying out or executing the laws. And of course, we've talked about iron triangles and the influences there. The media, again, plays a big role in regards to watchdog function. So if individual agencies are making critical errors, the media will show that on TV, and it will be scrutinized by not only the media, but by the American public. What in the world is going on in that department? And whether it be Fox News or CNN, even though CNN or MSNBC tends to be a little liberal, when the rollout of Obamacare was kind of a disaster, you can guarantee that they were being very critical of the Department of Health and Human Services. So this puts direct pressure not only on the executive branch, but more specifically on all these individual departments. And finally, the courts. We looked at a video yesterday or 2 days ago in regards to Obama's executive order. Courts can also issue injunctions, which means stop doing something to these bureaucratic agencies, or rule that any policy that a bureaucratic agency makes is unconstitutional. So several of the implementations of Obamacare by Health and Human Services have been challenged by the federal courts and will continue to be challenged. One of the ones right now that will probably be heard by the Supreme Court this year, they haven't agreed to take the case yet, but I would predict they will, was this mandate that all businesses, whether they are religious in basis or not, must offer contraceptives or birth control to their employees. And the Department of Health and Human Services have set up a way of doing this in which it doesn't come directly from the employer or the insurer, it comes from the government. Well, that's being challenged as still a violation of an employer's freedom of religion from the First Amendment in regards to, if you don't believe in contraceptives, you shouldn't be supplying them via the government mandate with Obamacare. And we can talk about that later. Have a great weekend. Peace.